Good afternoon and welcome to the Weather Studio Live. It's 1 p.m. It's the 15th of January 2019, Alex.
Yes, welcome along. I'm Alex Deakin. Thanks for joining us. We have an action-packed show. What's coming up today, Claire?
Oh, my goodness. It's quite exciting. It's streamlined, though. First of all, we're going to look at the next 2 days. Yes, we've had a milder interlude. Is it coming to an end and what's going to happen? And then we're going to dive across to Europe, where they've had some horrendous conditions. They've been in a grip of a brutal winter, particularly Alpine resorts, and talking about the avalanche risk, which actually rose to 5 yesterday. That's the top category. And then after that, we'll be talking about the next 8 days or so. Will we get an easterly or not? Ooh. We have Deputy Chief Chris Tubbs in tow. He'll be talking about those things. And we've got some beautiful charts. Absolutely lovely charts coming your way. Stay tuned.
For the eyes, for the meteorological eyes. Please do get in touch, though. Please do send us your questions. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitter. We are live on Facebook. You can get in touch. We'll try and answer some questions during the show. Even if we don't answer them during this show, we can always take them and maybe make something about them next week. But please, we do love your comments. Give us the thumbs up if you like what you see. Suggest things that you might want to see for the rest of the year in the Weather Studio. We are here for you, so please do get in touch.
Right, next 2 days, Alex, what is happening?
Yeah, the weather kind of breaks down quite nicely for the rest of this week and then beyond when things get a little bit murky. Right. So let's deal with the rest of this week first of all, because yes, you've probably heard it is going to turn colder, quite a lot colder as well. And that's actually quite a big thing, because some parts of the UK have been having a dry January.
Dry January, all coming to an end.
There is a handful of weather sites across the UK that still haven't recorded any significant rainfall.
They've done well.
And we are halfway through the month. So if you know friends, people are also doing a dry January, at least the weather's been kind of in sympathy with you. But that is coming to an end, because we will, I think, all see some rain in the 24 hours.
We've been on honeymoon, really, sort of very warm, moist sort of airflow coming in from the southwest. Yes, we've seen dull skies, but it hasn't been that sort of frigid air, has it?
It hasn't. And out there at the moment, these are the temperatures that we've got right now, 9, 10. It's actually 11 degrees in Aboyne in Aberdeenshire right now. And that's because we're in a blanket of cloud and the winds are coming in from the southwest. So this is the current scenario. And you can see that dome there. There is some rain around across northern Scotland. And that is actually, if we just put the temperatures on, what we call a warm sector. Warm wodge of air. And that's created by a warm front and then the cold front there. But let's run through time and see what happens, because we are going to see a change. A cold front pushing its way southwards. This is overnight tonight. It's a double effect, though, that we're going to see. It's not going to turn really cold straight away. The cold front swings through. That will bring some rain.
Quite lots of rain, actually.
Yeah, significant rain, certainly in those places I haven't seen any. But then this next feature, there's cold air. See the darker blues there? It's a next feature that comes south. That's where the really cold air is. And so it's tomorrow night. This is Wednesday evening when we could start to see some problems with the colder air across Scotland, ice and snowfall. So
maximum temperature across Scotland tomorrow, possibly in the morning.
Yeah, probably in the morning. These are the temperatures at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We're back down to 5, 6s. But further north, we're barely above freezing at this stage. So the snow showers in Shetland tomorrow evening will be, the showers will be of snow even till over.
So what's the snow line at the moment and how is it going to drop?
Well, the snow, there's no snow line today, really, and tonight's mild. We'll start to see some snow on the Scottish mountains at the end of tonight, but only of the tops. By tomorrow morning, they'll be affecting some of the routes, some of the roads by the end of tomorrow morning. And then by the end of tomorrow, so if we run through and look at the precipitation, you can see the showers here over the higher parts of Scotland. Through the central belt, more likely to be a mixture of rain and sleet through the course of the evening. But as we go through beyond Wednesday night, this little feature, some question marks about that. That could have some snow mixed in. That comes south, and then look at where the isobars are pointing. So the winds are coming down from the north. This is no beast from the east. This is from the north. This is a cold Arctic blast that we're going to get. Thursday will be a chilly day, but actually for many it'll be a sunny day.
Do you know what? I'm so excited about Thursday. I know it's going to be cold, really cold, wind chill on this eastern side, but blue sky, sunshine. We've had so many sort of dull days, haven't we, Alex?
Yeah, a little ridge of high pressure. So for many, Thursday's a sunny day, but look, there will still be some showers coming in from the east. But actually the North Sea, now I'm not recommending you swim in the North Sea, but it is relatively mild still at this time of year. So the showers that come in from the North Sea will chiefly be of rain or of sleet on the coast. We might get a bit of snow, say, the North York moors, that kind of thing, but it depends on the position of those. That is the big question mark, though. That system coming in and with the cold air, that's where we have a bit of a question mark beyond Thursday and into Friday, but we'll have more on that later on.
Okay, let's hop across to Europe because they've had their third successive week of heavy snowfall, particularly across Austria, eastern parts of Switzerland, as well as southern parts of Germany. And, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. How high is a lorry or a truck? I mean, it's taller than me, obviously, and you, maybe on top of each other. Yes, maybe. I mean, how many metres are we talking about?
3 metres, 4 metres high, a truck.
Okay, well, take a look at this. This is from the Twitter feed over the last 24
hours. Why are you talking about trucks? There's just some lying snow
lying snow.
There's some lying snow here, surely.
Look at this. It starts to move.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Yes, this is worth waiting for.
Scenes. Hashtag scenes.
That looks like a travelator, doesn't it?
Does
Something you
look
get in maybe in an airport. But no, that is a truck. That is how high or how deep the snow is currently across some parts of Austria. Record-breaking snow. In fact, the snow depth has been even deeper than that across the northern and eastern Alps. And they've had a huge amount of snow, not only over the last 3 weeks, but over the weekend, another metre of fresh snow. And over the last week or so, some places saw 3 metres of snow. So, yes, a lot of the ski slopes have been closed, and the higher levels of particularly Austria have been under avalanche risk or avalanche threat. And there have been a number of avalanches in this region here. People have died because of it. It's been
really bad all year. I mean,
bad.
It's been incredible. And what's been happening? Really, we can have a look at the general setup, and this kind of sums it up, doesn't it? So here we are. Here's Europe. Here's the Alps. Talk us through this, Claire.
The weather's been coming in from the north or the northeast or northwest. Colder air gradually pushing in. These are weather fronts here, turning from rain to snow as it hits parts of Germany and Switzerland. Many flights have been cancelled over the last week, particularly across Munich airport. Road closures, trains have been rerouted. And this is a typical setup. This has been happening over the last month.
Stuck in a rut, haven't we? Just
Stuck
with the winds coming in from the north, the north,
and you can see this is the Alps here, and
there.
most of the snow's been across the northern and eastern Alps. So basically one snowfall after another, and coupled with that some incredibly strong winds, so blizzard conditions, making for really tricky and dangerous weather. And yet another one coming in here. So this is a schematic showing really what has been happening, but it's this southern portion of the Alps which has seen
it's localised, isn't it? Because the winds are coming in from here.
Yeah.
Down here, across Italy, we've been sheltered. So all the snow's been there, and it's not been able to get over the Alps. The snow's just dumped on Austria and Switzerland. And France is now getting a bit, but hasn't seen much.
Yeah, they've seen about 60 centimetres over the last few weeks or so. Yes, Italy is still dry. In fact, there's been a risk of forest fires across some parts of the Italian Alps.
This satellite picture shows that quite nicely.
Beautiful. This really is. So what we've got here, the yellows there and sort of the amber colours, that's the snow cover across central and northern and eastern parts of the Alps. On top of that, we do have the cloud as well. So this is a lovely visible satellite picture. But you can see here, this is dendritic drainage, I believe. And as you can see, some parts of the Alps seeing the snow, some parts not. So some parts of France, we're seeing some really sort of dry conditions.
Again, here's Italy,
and it really is. There's the line. There's the line. So the air's coming in from the north, cold air. As it hops over the Alps, you have something called the Föhn effect. The air dries up and it warms up as it compresses. And that's the reason why temperatures here have been a lot higher. Temperatures across the Northern Alps, minus 21 degrees Celsius by day.
It's incredible to think 4 or 5 metres of snow here and nothing here.
So you would think people would be celebrating because obviously a bumper season of snow so far. However, yesterday was quite a critical day. Yesterday there was a red alert, a level 5 avalanche alert across some parts of Austria. This is quite an interesting grid. This shows the European avalanche danger scale. It starts at 1. It's a traffic light system, to be honest, like we have with warnings. Low, 1, green, yeah, the snowpack is well bonded, it's stable. Pushing up towards 3, and then the red alerts 4 and 5.
These are rare.
These are rare, but very dangerous. When one is put into place, you really have to take note. And that's what happened on Monday. So this is Austria here, isn't it, Alex? Because it's Austria. And we can see the red zone here. This is
that's 4.
High alert. That's 4, where the avalanches, there's a high risk of avalanches, even for natural causes. So avalanches happen in lots of different ways. Strong winds can cause avalanches. Heavy snowfall weighing down on the snowpack can actually cause an unstable layer of snow, and that can topple over as well. Sometimes this is triggered by skiers going off-piste. Other times it's just too heavy, the weight of that snow, and you find that these avalanches do occur, and that's what's been happening over the last week or so.
So we had level 5, potentially catastrophic avalanches yesterday.
Well, this is the Tyrol region, and last week, if you remember, there was a forced evacuation of St. Johann in the Tyrol region because of concerns of an avalanche, and yes, there were some in the area.
Current chart, levels have reduced a little bit.
Even so.
Conditions have improved a little bit. We're still on red across large parts of northern Austria, but we haven't got those level 5s anymore. But the conditions are still pretty horrendous. Fours are still dangerous, and 4s are still quite rare as well. But conditions have eased a bit.
They have eased a little bit, although there is more snow on the way.
But not as much.
If you are concerned, if you are flying down to the Alps for some skiing, and I know it's very popular. I mean, I've been myself. I'm a dreadful skier, but you know, I would never ski under these sort of conditions. Avalanche.report is a great go-to website, and that's where we've got our data from today.
So let's have a look at the forecast. Let's zoom into the Alps, because this is Wednesday, and actually Wednesday and today there's no more snow really. For the next 48 hours we're fine until we get to Thursday, and this next feature will bring some snow.
And the Pyrenees as well then.
Oh, and the Pyrenees. The Pyrenees
actually, Italy getting a little bit as well, as well as Slovenia. So the concern I have, though, Alex, is obviously the temperatures are rising because it's a warm front. The air is turning a little bit milder before the cold air really digs in again. So this is one of the issues with the snowpack. It's like the unstable layer of snow where the temperatures perhaps have risen slightly, and then the freezing down again as the snow becomes ice. And again, the instability of that depth.
The science of avalanches is really complex, and it's not just about the sheer volume of snow, although incredible record-breaking scenes are not helping that. It's those layering, isn't it? It's the melting a little bit, then that freezes, so that basically forms an icy shelf. Then you get more snow on top of that, and it's
like the way I would make a Victoria sponge, to be honest. You know, so layer upon layer, maybe some cream,
maybe some Victoria sponge.
Maybe some blueberries, strawberries, and eventually it can topple over. So yes, it's a very dangerous setup at the moment. Hopefully it will improve, but record-breaking depths of snow across some parts of eastern Switzerland and Austria. In the world currently, Andermatt.
Oh, is this a quiz?
Yes, Andermatt in eastern parts of Switzerland have peaked above what level of snow depth?
Oh, 4 metres? 5 metres?
5.5 now.
5.5 metres of snow, and that's the snowiest ski resort in the world right now.
Right now, because obviously Northern Hemisphere, we're talking Canada here, as well as the US and this part of the world. Not only that, the second is held in Austria, St. Anton in Austria, which I have attempted to ski. I think I had a cup of coffee at the top and took a toboggan down. So yes, so basically, hopefully conditions will slowly improve. And as
there is more snow on the way, but not the volume. So not the metre each day that we've seen. I mean, some places have broken records in Austria for the first 15 days, over 4 metres of snow in places. But we're now looking at more normal amounts of snow, but obviously the snow that's already fallen isn't going anywhere.
And the good news, if you're planning to ski, say, at Easter, this snow is likely to last through to the end of the season because it's so deep and it has been so cold there. No exposure to land at all. So good news, but at the moment, take extra care if you are heading across to that part of the world.
Let's take some questions. I'm not just checking my shopping list on my phone. I'm just checking some questions that we're getting in. Are we getting snow to the east? Andy Duff asks on Facebook. Well, we'll have more on that in a moment because there are some signs. Some of the computer models now suggesting the next week an easterly may get set up. We'll have more on that with our guest in just a moment. Why have recent GFS runs not gone blocked cold weather, but EC has? Again, great question. So GFS is the American computer model. EC is a European computer model. One of the three models we may use here at the Met Office along with our very own. And we're going to show the two different scenarios in a moment again with Chris. But yes, EC is now more blocked, and it's all very subtle differences in the position of the jet stream as to whether the scenario and where the low pressure is. And as I say, we'll have more on that in just a moment with
Another
Chris.
question, will it snow where I am?
That's a good question.
Possibly yes or possibly no.
So it's Nigel Clifford. I should mention Nigel Clifford for that question about GFS. And Jane Menzies on Facebook says, we don't get much snow in Cambridge. Is it because we're in a dip? Well, actually, colder air down there, but it's not mostly because you only get snow in the eastern areas when you get an easterly. But when you do get it, you probably get a lot. And she must have had some last year in Cambridge. And I remember when the M11 was closed a few years ago. It was a terrible scenario, wasn't it? So, stay tuned. Again, all these questions. Well, snow. When's it going to snow? When's it going to snow?
Avril Reynolds, thank you very much for your comment. Only forecast, I believe, is looking out my window. Well, you could probably be 50% right because what happened yesterday possibly could happen again today. So keep on doing that.
It's not more of a forecast, though, is it's more of an actual, I would say.
Nowcast, but even so,
Nowcast.
you know, it's always good to look at the sky,
Thanks, though,
I think.
Avril. Yeah, thanks for that question.
Okay.
Right, let's deal... look at this.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. I present...
a Hovmüller.
Hovmüller. That's 2 O's, one's got an umlaut.
It has. Now, what on earth is this? Well, it's the link between why it's been so snowy in Europe and why we haven't had much rainfall so far. This is a Hovmüller diagram. What we've got along the bottom is longitude, is 0 in the middle, so that's the Greenwich meridian there. So this is where we are in the world. Going longitude, over here is the United States, and over here is Europe and Asia. And this is going back in time. So we're starting at the very top here, the 1st of January. So this basically is a year's worth of data. And this is a slice through the atmosphere at 500 millibars. So not the very top.
How high is that, would you say?
Not where the jet stream is, and not at the surface.
Right.
So 500 millibars is, what's that?
12,000 feet?
Yeah, maybe, 12 to 15,000 feet. A bit higher, about that, 12 to 15,000 feet. So it's not the pressure at the surface, but this is the pressure at a slice of the atmosphere higher up. And you can see, I'm showing it because it's really a strong signal. It's normally quite wishy-washy like it is around the edge, but you can really quite clearly see that red stripe there, and that is showing us that pressure has been, so far through this year, higher than average, close to the UK and just to the west of the UK at these higher levels in the atmosphere. That is why the weather systems have been diving south beyond the UK, down into Europe. That's one of the reasons why they've had so much snowfall and why we, in some parts of the UK, haven't seen
And it's been a cloudy high, hasn't it?
And it's been a cloudy high. And another reason why I want to show you, this dotted line is where we are now. This is the 15th, and you can see that that pattern is coming to an end. It's getting more wishy-washy. There are signals that the pressure may be higher, but it's not as strong as this definite pattern.
So the blues are what?
Blues are lower than average pressure in these parts of the world. And you can often follow a weather system moving diagonally through time on these Hovmüller diagrams. They're a fantastic thing, as well as looking beautiful. I'm going to frame some of these on my wall. But anyway, what does that mean for the weather in the future? Well, we're now on Friday. Remember, we stopped at Friday, that weather system coming in. The cold air is still sitting across the UK. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's put the pressure pattern on, because this front is moving in towards the UK. This is Friday. And you'd think with the cold air sitting in, this weather front bringing in some precipitation could have some snow in it. But it doesn't look likely at this stage, because this is a bit of a feeble weather system. It hasn't got any welly to it, hasn't got any umph to it. So as you run through Friday and into Saturday, if we put the precipitation on there, you can see it's mostly just a band of rain. Yeah. Could be a bit of snow over the hills of the southwest, South Wales as it moves in, but it's really quite weak.
It's transient.
You need these systems to move in quickly over the cold air to get any
maybe at night when the
snow
air is really cold.
And it's just kind of fizzling out, and it kind of dribbles to the south. It's a bit of a pathetic low. It means for the weekend that most places, certainly across the east, will stay dry and stay cold. Then we need to keep our eyes on this next weather system. It's more of a low moving into Iceland, bringing some snow here. This band will have a bit of snow on the Scottish mountains. This is Sunday. Again, nothing too significant. No. So at the moment, into the weekend, still a bit of uncertainty about how much we get from that first low, but it doesn't look as if we're going to see any significant snowfall this weekend at this stage. But it's what happened next that is really quite key.
Shall we invite our guest?
Let's bring our guest in, because he's been waiting in the wings. Chris Tubbs, come on in.
Deputy Chief Forecaster. Tell us your job. What do you do?
Yeah, so Chris, welcome along. What's your role here at the Met Office?
The main role is looking at the medium range part of the forecast, which you've sort of described there, and also a little bit beyond that, to try and have an idea what we might be seeing, 10 days ahead, something like that.
Excellent.
Some might say that's fantasy land, but I'd say we can get a bit of skill there.
I definitely think we've got a bit of skill
We've
there.
got a bit of skill.
Talk us through this. So this is for next Wednesday. So it's not tomorrow.
So it's 8 days ahead.
Wednesday, 8 days ahead, a long way. Talk us through this chart, first of all.
That's right. So we've got low pressure up here to the northeast of the country. High pressure that you described and Claire described, that's been around for quite a while. It's slipped a little bit further to the south now. So we call this sort of south-shifted jet, because the jet stream's running a little bit further south down here. So what that means is sort of mild, wet weather is most likely to be in the southwest of the UK. That's the most likely place to see milder, wetter, windier weather, perhaps our usual winter weather, some people would think. But to the north and northeast of that, which is quite a bit of the country actually, colder.
It looks blue, it's colder air, so it's still cold.
It's colder air. We're going to see some snow showers coming down here. It's very cold over Iceland, so some snow showers running down into the northwestern part of the country, and some of those will get a little bit further to the southeast. and we might even see some frost as well.
So that's one computer model for next Wednesday. Let's look at another one. This is very, very different, isn't it? And this is why it's so interesting. So the longer range, there's always more uncertainty longer range, but there's a lot of uncertainty about next week. Because this is just so different. So what's this? The low pressure is in a completely different place.
That's right, Alex. That's right. So next Wednesday again, 8 days ahead, but with the European Centre model, and that has a completely different scenario as you've described there. So it's got low pressure. Instead of being up here near Iceland, it's down here in the Bay of Biscay, and round the north of a low pressure system, you have easterly winds. So all the way across the country, we've got easterly winds. We've got cold air over the continent, which, as you described, has been there for some time, most of the winter, in fact. That's opening the door, as we say, to bringing the easterly winds, bringing that cold air to the UK.
So there's some signals from this model that we could get an easterly wind next week, and this is a similar setup to Beast from the East that we had in 2018.
That's right. Early 2018, we had easterly winds. We had Storm Emma come up from the southwest, and that created the conditions.
So are we
for the Beast from the
concerned
East.
about this scenario, are we, at the moment?
I think it's a more likely scenario for disruptive weather. This is just one solution. We run a number of solutions called ensembles of predictants. We run a number of those, 50 from the European Centre, to tell us which is the most likely scenario. So this isn't the most likely scenario going forward, but it is one of the solutions.
Potentially the most disruptive scenario. And just to point out as well, it's similar to the Beast from the East in terms of setup, but the air isn't as cold.
No, it's not. Not even this air isn't as cold as we have.
What sort of temperatures we're talking about, say, across the central northern part of Europe currently and into next week?
So they'd be in the -10 to -15 variety.
Right.
Up there in
Whereas last year, I think we were talking -30, -35.
Exactly.
Okay.
We were talking -10 across the UK.
It is an easterly, but not as cold. But in this, so let's get into some of the scenarios. So let's go back to the GFS model, the westerly. What we'll be looking at here, is it still cold?
It would be, yeah, that's right. But not so cold in the southwest, but across the bulk of the UK, you'd probably be looking at maximums around 6 or so, minimums around 0. And you definitely see some snow on the hills and some snow in the northwest of the country.
Right.
But disruptive snow in terms of widespread heavy snow is less likely in this scenario.
Exactly, and most of the people who live down here in the southeast, they're likely to see the least precipitation.
If that model's correct. Whereas if this one is true, we get the easterly wind, it is colder.
It's colder, that's right. We're likely to see, because we're dominated by high pressure, we're likely to see more clear skies. In early January, long periods of clear nights mean it will get colder night by night by night, and we also got quite a brisk wind as well, and that'll make it feel cold.
Serious wind chill as well.
Serious wind chill as well.
It's going to be cold.
But as I said, I think the thing to concern ourselves with is this sort of greater potential, because believe me, 8 days out, where these lows and highs are is a little bit difficult to get right.
Yeah, completely. And that's completely normal for us to have this uncertainty. We're looking at beyond. So people who say, you don't know what's going on. No. Well, we do know that it's most likely going to be cold. But these are the two main scenarios that we're looking at. And this is 8 days away. So we're dealing with the sort of medium to longer range of
So this setup, last week we were talking about the SSW, the Southern Stratospheric Warming. And this is quite a typical setup after that warming event across the North Pole, 30 kilometres up in the sky in the stratosphere happens. So it does have impacts across Northern Europe. And this, you would say, was pretty much a textbook scenario, would you say?
To some extent, Claire, yeah. What it does is it tips the dice towards this scenario. So I'm still thinking about 20-25% at the very most for this scenario, but that's 5 times more than normal. Normal is about 5% chance of easterly in January.
Right.
And so it's just tipped the dice over. So this scenario is more likely, but there are still other scenarios, and we'll need to keep an eye on the forecasts right up to next week, really.
Fantastic. Chris, thank you very much for joining us today.
That's really interesting. And obviously, we keep you posted on the 10-day trend. And all that data comes from these guys as well.
Yeah.
And, we've got the best scientists here and a font of information.
24/7, they're working as well. 24/7 all through the nights and everything. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Chris. I know you're a busy man.
Okay, thank
you. So as Chris says, stay tuned to the forecast. Yes, we will be keeping a close eye on it. We've given you basically what's going to happen the rest of this week. At the moment, nothing significant in terms of snowfall, but it is going to turn colder. Those mornings are going to turn frostier. And then next week, there is that potential. That's all it is at this stage for that easterly and therefore a greater risk of
Martin Eastwood on YouTube is asking, it's an interesting question actually, it's something we need to sort of address occasionally, is our weather becoming more extreme? Because obviously we had that horrendous snow this time last year, well, it was the end of February, and then we had a heat wave, and we have been talking about extremes now for pretty much the last year, and then another SSW happened, and now we're anticipating perhaps another cold snap with the risk of some disruptive weather.
It's important to note that sudden stratospheric warming isn't that rare. They do happen
over the last 50 years.
Frequently.
We've had about 25 events.
So they're not that rare, sudden stratospheric warming and easterly winds. But we have had a lot of mild winters recently, so these cold ones then become a bit of a shock.
Not every SSW translates to ground level truth, does it? That's the thing. And sometimes we get cold winters and there's been no SSW. So yes, there is a correlation there, but occasionally it doesn't equate to that. Another interesting question actually is that the SSW hasn't been mentioned much over the past years, but now we hear about it all the time.
That's a great question from Andy.
And actually it's an interesting point of just study, you know, and as Dr. Jeff Knight was talking last week, we've only seen data over the last 50 years, and certainly over the last 20 years, the data's got more intense and more widespread. So we're really looking at this with fresh eyes.
But I also think that it also comes down to broadcast meteorology in some ways as well, because 20 years ago, the only way you could find out about weather was through the weather broadcasts on TV. Nowadays, we've got things like the Weather Studio Live. Newspapers are much more clued up, and the Met Office are much better at communicating things. We've got a great press office here at telling people about stuff. So I just think there's a number of factors behind it. Yes, it's reasonably new in terms of science, but we're getting more and more confident about it. But the way that we can get information out has changed, and that's a lot to do with this, you know, with our ability to communicate through social media. So we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Snapchat, we are on Instagram, and of course we're on YouTube as well. And that is part of the reason why people are more aware of it, because people can tap into so many different sources of information. So please keep doing that.
Yeah.
Please keep following us across social media, and please keep sending us in your questions. We love to hear from you, and please keep up to date with the forecast, because it is going to be interesting. We'll probably have some more stuff coming out this week about the cold spell, potentially through next week, of course, and any warnings will be on the Met Office website.
Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you this time next week on a Tuesday.
Thank you.